My name is Mari Morrison Rodriguez, and I am from North Rockland all of my life, as are my parents and their parents before them, all from Haverstraw. And I am here to speak to the same point that Magda was up here speaking about, and that is to advocate for this project to go through. Because sometimes I understand what you're saying, and I totally agree, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers, I get that. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the reality of what is going on out there. And yes, there is no guarantee about who is going to get the lottery or win the lottery for this project, okay? But it's one of three of its kind that I understand in this area or region that is offering a very integrated, it's more attainable than it is affordable. Because I have 4 kids, and I worked for the county for decades, retired from the county, and I am in the bracket that would serve people well enough that they could actually save to afford a house. You have to start somewhere. And the somewhere is rent, if you can't afford to buy. This $700,000 typical house in the county of Rockland, which I went to those meetings, the housing forum, 2 years in a row, and all we talked about was this problem, and the fact that there's not attainable housing, much less affordable. So the middle income people, such as myself, who is a county employee, along with my 4 children, one of whom is sitting here, who is a young 26-year-old trying to struggle to make it out there with his own company. I have a speech pathologist daughter in North Rockland High School who can't afford to do anything. I have another one who owned the Chug and Rhino in Haverstraw, couldn't afford to do anything, all in the same price range. We are the demographic that cannot attain housing in the place where our ancestors grew up. I really don't want to hear, honestly, about what you said, and I respect you and I appreciate it, but I want to keep my family here, and my family needs to stay here, and his 2-year-old son needs to stay here. So I work with people with disabilities. I retired from the county and then went to work for Bridges. I have senior citizens coming into me every day saying, I wish there was a place I could rent. I understand you're afraid of lawsuits. I understand there's a fiduciary issue and the money and the money and the money, and I get it. And yes, Haverstraw has given, but there has been a list to show which towns were most and least. I've seen it in the news, and Haverstraw was not top 1 or 2. You can talk in 1 minute, I just let me finish, okay? I hear you, and I know what you're gonna say, and that's fine, but I gotta get my words out because I just don't believe I hear what I hear sometimes, because my parents grew up in Haverstraw, so I know what you're talking about. My mother took the train into the city to go to work. She worked at West Point all her life. I want that life for my family, and I'm not just standing here speaking for me. I'm speaking for every other family that's out there that is the demographic that would not only apply for that if they could, but it's a start for our young people who are leaving. They cannot stay here. So they can come from Ossining, they can come from Orange or wherever. I'm okay with that because they're young people that need to stay in the area close enough to their roots, okay? I'm also a board member on the North Rockland Chamber of Commerce. Very pro-business. So this project also brings in retail on the first floor, from what I understand. That will bring in not only commerce to the current businesses that are there, but to the entire county. I went over and spoke to Ossining's Chamber of Commerce. They are thrilled about the project over here, the Chair Factory.
They asked how many units?
Oh, I don't know how much they're doing. I'm saying, I told him about what we're doing over here, the president over there. He said, he's thrilled. He said he would love to come and collaborate with ways that we can thrive in the sister cities, which was a criteria for the DRI money, which means that they were given money, and this Chair Factory seems to be fulfilling what the DRI project was about, Downtown Revitalization Initiative. So the ferry is to promote tourism and collaboration between the sister cities, which can only revitalize and make us grow in commerce and in other ways. My whole thing is, it's unrealistic to think that somebody making $60,000 a year cannot contribute to the commerce. It's unrealistic to think that anybody can afford a $700,000 house now, much less a family starting out or a retiree. So they need hope. This is really not about, are we going to get an apartment here? It's about hope. And the drive that people can say, let me just hang on a little longer. I'm hoping that there are other projects like this all over the place. because it's integrated. If you're making, veterans will pay $700-something a month to live there. Somebody that's making $100,000 a year will pay something different than that. So it is integrated, which is so wonderful in terms of how we look at how we want the county to be, in my opinion. Anyway, I praise County Executive Ed Day for doing what he's doing with the same building. I think that's a good step in the right direction. But every time we've talked about at the Housing Forum that we need solutions, we have a solution sitting right here in front of us on the table. And I think that there can be a marriage between the fiduciary responsibility y'all have and the Chair Factory and their project. I think there can be a happy medium. I would love there to be communication, because it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, in that they did add a pool. Cool, that's great. I think what they're looking for is increased communication with you and the board, because if there isn't that, it will be a stalemate, nothing will happen, and it's forget the lawsuits and whatever else is going to happen. We need this here. We, as the demographic that will be living in that place, need this here. We deserve it. We've worked all our lives for it, and that is why I'm here, because I support the something different that they're finally doing in this county. We don't have it anywhere. We've been talking about it for decades. 2 meetings of the Housing Forum we talked about it, and now somebody's doing something about it. I'm sure you are too. I'm sure, Ed Day is too. Good. But why can't there be everything? Because we need it. Because nobody is going to stay here, not seniors, not families, young, that can't afford this price for housing. That place is full over there, by the way. My friends all live over in the harbors. There's no vacancies. Okay, I don't know where they're coming from, because I know most people can't afford $700,000, $800,000 for a townhouse, much less a house. But there may be openings, but that is not the place where our up-and-comings in this county that lived here, where their families have planted roots hundreds of years ago. That's not where they're going. So I'm looking for that answer, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you listening to my rant.